YouTube friends, Carlos Arisate, and welcome back to Mom's Greek Kitchen, the channel where I teach you my mom's Greek recipes in her memory. Today we're making a Greek classic, pastitsio or pastitsio, depending on who you are. Pastitsio. Pastitsio is Greece's answer to the Italian lasagna. It's pasta layered with a meat sauce and covered with a bechamel and then baked until nice and golden. It's pretty easy. It's very tasty. So let's go into the kitchen and I'll show you how it goes together. Alright? See you soon! Alright, we're ready to get started. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to slightly sweat our onions. Now I don't know why Mom used to do this, but I've always done it because she always did it. I think it's probably to keep the onions from burning, but basically we put our finely chopped onions, this is one large onion, into the our pot, and we're going to add just a drizzle of water. And then we're going to turn it on. And we're going to cook it until the water evaporates. Exciting! Alright, we're almost to that point. I haven't really stirred the pot. I just waited for the water to evaporate. If you move the onions around, you'll see just a little bit of spitting on the bottom. They're almost completely dry. And now we can go ahead and add our oil. So I'm going to add probably about a quarter cup of olive oil. And now we're going to cook off the onions until they brown. We don't want them too dark, but we want nice color on them. In Greek, this is called tsigarisma. Tsigarisma, and it means to saute or to toast, basically. And if you don't do this step, the Greeks would say that the food is avrasto, which means unboiled or uncooked. In other words, not good. So you want to take your time, you want to brown this step. Alright, so the onions are just starting to have color now. I'm still going to go a little longer. I've got my heat as high as my induction cooker will go, just so you know where I'm cooking at. When these reach the color I want, I'll add my garlic. I've got about 5 cloves of garlic, chopped finely. And then I'm going to cook that for about 30 seconds or so, and then I'm going to add our hamburger. I'm using a lean hamburger, but Mom would have used regular. It's actually kind of hard to find regular nowadays. And I've got about a pound, a little bit of about maybe 500 grams of ground hamburger. If you want, you can use a combination of lamb and beef. Mom never really did it. First of all, I hate lamb, so it wouldn't be in our household. And I'm not sure if she would have done it in Greece either. I've never seen it done with any other meat other than beef or wild game like moose. So I can't tell you what it would be like with pork, for instance, or chicken. I have used the vegetarian ground round in the moussaka recipe and in the pastitsio, and if it's a good ground round, it works really well. You wouldn't really know the difference. So you can make this for your vegetarian friends. Alright, so our onion is starting to color nicely now. Just a little longer. I want a nice golden hue all over. I'm going to turn my heat down to medium-high. I don't want to scorch my garlic when I put it in. So there's about the color we want. I don't know if the camera will pick that up, but it's got a good dark coloring on the edges. Some of them are still a little pale, but that's still okay. Alright, I'm now going to add my garlic. And basically just cook that till it's fragrant. And now we're going to add in our hamburger. Break it up and brown it off. I turn it up to high. Alright, now that our hamburger is nicely browned, we're going to make an opening in the middle of it. And we're going to drop in our spices. Now, this dish shows the Ottoman influence on Greek cuisine. I'm adding half a stick of cinnamon, 3 or 4 whole cloves. I've got 4 here. A couple of bay leaves. These are from our tree. I'm going to add some salt. I'm going to start with half a teaspoon for now. You'll probably need more. Actually, I'll go for 3/4. And some pepper. Now, the reason we're adding our whole spices to the middle is because they are, their oils and their flavorings are oil activated. So we want to get them into some grease first. Just give them a stir for a few seconds. And then move them off so you don't burn them. And we're going to do exactly the same thing with a small can of tomato paste. So this is the 6 ounce or 156 milliliters of tomato paste, and we want to cook that off a little bit before we actually mix it in with the water. to get rid of that any metallic taste if there is any. Mom always fried her tomato paste first. And once that's fried for about a minute, 40 seconds or so, then you can stir it all together. And now we're going to add some water. We're going to go till it basically just covers the meat. And a little more. Good. So we're now going to bring this to a boil. And then we're going to reduce the heat and we're going to simmer for at least half an hour. Taste it and see how it is. It should be done by then. The longer you cook it, the more rich the flavor gets. So we usually do it for about half an hour, 45 minutes. And then we'll go to the next step. Once it comes to a boil, you can taste it for salt and seasonings, salt and pepper anyway. Alright, we've come to a boiling point, so we're ready to go to the next step. So we're going to turn it down to a simmer. We're going to partially cover it, and we're going to cook it, like I said, between half an hour to an hour basically, stirring occasionally. Keep the lid cracked on it so that the liquid evaporates, because you want it to thicken down back into a thick meat sauce. Alright, so I will be back when we're ready for our next step. Alright, we're back. Our meat sauce has finished cooking. As you can see, it's now pretty thick. Oops, compared to what it was. Yes, yes. So now we're actually going to turn it off. And now we're going to pick out our whole spices that we had in there. Clove and the bay leaves are easy to find. The cinnamon and the bay leaves are easy to find. Yeah, you always need to remember how many you put in so you can remember how many to take out. The cloves, on the other hand, are a little harder, but I got one. And remember, we had 4 in here. So let's see how long it takes us to find 4 cloves. We got 2. This was always my job when Mom made it. They're eluding me today. Here's 1. Oops. 3. hiding pretty good. There it is. And flour. So our meat sauce is ready for the next step. So I'm just going to put this on the side. I've got pasta cooking right now. And I'm going to make the bechamel next. And then once we have all the parts, we can assemble. Alright, I'll be back at the next step. Alrighty, we're ready to start our bechamel. In my pot here I have 1 cup of butter, which I've chopped up into smaller pieces so it melts faster. At this point I'm going to add some ground pepper and some salt. You don't want to go too heavy on the salt because you're going to be adding Parmesan or other cheese. But you want to give it a nice goodly amount of pepper. If you don't like the black specks, you can use white pepper. A little bit of salt. This is unsalted butter. If you use salted butter, just be aware of how much salt you'll be adding later in the cheese and stuff like that. Alright, our butter is melted. I'm going to turn it down to medium high. And now I'm going to add 1 cup of flour. And I'm going to mix it together. And I'm going to cook our roux for a minute or two until the raw flavor of the flour is gone. And all the flour is coated with the butter, which is what keeps it from making clumps later on when you add the cold milk. That's the secret of bechamel. As soon as you add the cold milk, the butter solidifies, protecting the flour. And as it heats up, it softens and allows the flour to thicken, and every time you add cold milk it seizes up again, and it makes it a gradual process basically, which is why you don't get lumps when you make a bechamel. That's a little too high. I'm going to go down to medium. Okay, I have 5 cups of milk. I'm using whole milk. And at the beginning of the process you want to add just a little bit at a time, so that's about a half a cup. Ow, what? And it looks like you ruined it. Where's all that creaminess that we had? But then we add another half a cup or so. I'm sorry guys, it seems like my camera decided to die in the middle of that. So I've restarted. So we have all the milk in. You missed the last few additions, and I think you missed me switching to a whisk. But I basically continued doing what I was doing before the video stopped. So now we are nice and creamy. We're at a medium-low. I want to make sure it comes to a boil. It had already done that, but I just want to make sure that it's all hunky-dory. And nice and hot again. Alright, while we're waiting for that, I've got 3 eggs here, and I'm just going to give them a quick beat here. And I'm going to put them in a slightly bigger bowl because I forgot that I need room to whisk around a bit. Alright, so over here I have our 3 eggs that I just beat, and I'm going to whisk in some of the hot cream. See if I can do this left-handed without making a mess. You just want to keep whisking quickly so you don't scramble your eggs. This is called tempering. We're warming up the eggs so that when you put them back into the main mixture, they won't scramble. Alright, I'm going to put about 3 ladlefuls in. Another trick that I usually, another trick that I will impart. If you look underneath my bowl, you'll see that there's what looks like a towel. It's a dishcloth that's been wet and then wrung out and then turned into a rope and wrapped around the bottom of the bowl. That keeps it from moving when you can't use your other hand to hold it. I'll show you in a sec what I mean. Alright, so our eggs are now warmed up. So this is what I got underneath my bowl. It's just a rope of towel. Okay. So now we're going to whisk our egg mixture back into the hot mixture here. And you just want to do it gradually. So the egg will help set our bechamel so it doesn't go like run completely off when you cut your pastitsio for service. Alright, and I'm also going to add about 3 to 4 tablespoons of either Parmesan or Romano or Pecorino or Greek Mizithra or Califano Gaviera, whatever cheese you want to use really. Mom always used Mizithra, but I do not care for the flavor of Mizithra. So I'm using Romano and Parmesan. I'm going to cook that a bit to melt my cheese. And then we will assemble our pastitsio. Alright, we're back. So here's our pasta. I used penne. You want a pasta that's kind of, what's the word I want? First of all, one that has a large hole, like a bucatini would work for this, or something that has a structure to it. You don't want to use spaghetti or linguine or fettuccine or something like that because it basically collapses all together and becomes one big mass, whereas this has a little bit of air. So fusilli would work, rotini would work, the penne would work, elbow macaroni would work. Like I said, the bucatini, any of the pastas that have a bigger hole in the middle, any of the shapes basically. You just don't want the long skinnies or the flats. They won't work really well for this. Now normally when Mom made this, she would use bucatini, which is long, thin, or long pasta with a thick hole in it. But she also used to make it with spaghetti on occasion when she couldn't get bucatini. And it becomes very stodgy, so I don't care for it that way. I really do like elbow macaroni. I just happen to have this at home, so I'm using this instead. Mom would add some of the meat sauce oil and a little bit of the juice and mix it up. I'm going to actually add a little bit of the bechamel and a little bit of the meat sauce and mix that up to give some flavor through the pastitsio, whereas Mom's used to be mostly just pasta and then the meat sauce and then pasta again. So just a variation. I think this is just a little nicer to have some flavor in the pasta itself, as opposed to just being the base that you're going to put your other things on. Alright, so that's basically it. You can add a bit more cheese if you like. I think I have enough in my recipe here. So I'm going to bake it in this, I guess it's about a 13 by 9, maybe a 13 by 10. Slightly bigger than a 13 by 9. Just going to spray it a little bit so it doesn't stick too badly. And I'm going to eyeball about half of the pasta in the bottom. And spread it out. Okay, good enough. Nice even layer. Then we're going to put all of the meat sauce that we made earlier on top. And then we spread that out, nice and even. There we go. Now, you can sprinkle a little bit of crumbled feta on top. Which I am going to do, so I'll be back. Alright, so I've decided I'm going to actually do a little bit of feta on this one. So just a couple tablespoons is all you need, just a little bit, just to give it a little bit of sharpness. That'll do us. Alright, and then the rest of our pasta mixture. Just pack it down. Make sure you got a nice covering. And then we're going to top it with our bechamel. Here, the spatula. More. Try and get all the pasta covered. Mine cooled off a bit because my camera battery died and I had to recharge a little bit to get it finished. So yours will actually flow smoother than this, but that'll do us. So now I'm going to put this on a baking sheet that's bigger than this is, and it's going into a 375 degree oven until the top is nicely golden, and it'll be bubbling, and that's what you're worrying about, the oil coming out and pouring all over the bottom of your oven and making a mess. So do what I say so that you don't have an issue later with a messy oven. Alright, so I will be back when it's out of the oven. Alright, there's our pastitsio, fresh out of the oven, searing hot. You can still see it bubbling around the edges there. It took 1 hour exactly at 375 to get to this nice golden color. I am not going to be cutting it now. I will try and remember to take a picture or videotape it when it is being served, because if I cut it now, it will fall apart because it hasn't had a chance to set up yet. And I will be serving this to friends and family tomorrow, so I don't want it to look like a mess. So I'll try and remember, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a thumbs up, which really helps me, and subscribe if you haven't already, and share with your friends, and I hope to see you next time. Take care, bye bye. Hi there, welcome back. So here's our pastitsio. It has cooled down. This is actually the next day. We had it for dinner, so this is still not as warm as it should be at the moment, but I just wanted to show you what it looks like. I'm going to try and tilt it on the side without it falling off the plate. So there you go. We have our layers of pasta and our layers of meat sauce and the bechamel on top. And I'll cut a little piece out of here so you can see it holds itself well, but it's nice and creamy on top. The pasta is tender. I don't know if I said, but we're Greek, we're not Italian. We don't do al dente pasta. We cook pasta until it's nicely soft all the way through. I don't think I've ever had al dente pasta in my life until I went to cooking school, and that's the way you're supposed to have pasta. I still, if I go to an Italian restaurant, I ask them to cook my pasta longer because I still don't like al dente. If you like al dente, that's up to you. You can cook your pasta to that point, but for me, I want it done. It's an excellent dish. I hope you try it. I hope you enjoy it. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Please share with your friends. And I hope you come back for the next video. Alright, take care. Bye bye.